So this is a few tips about street photography for people who are just beginning. You know, you've got a camera, you've got a lens, maybe two lenses. That's absolutely all the equipment you need to begin doing street photography. But here's the other thing. The real street photography, it comes from within. It's what you want, and you have to go out there with a great intention. Having an intention is knowing what you like and then go out and look for it. When I first started photography, the very first thing I attempted to do was to actually transfer my knowledge of painting from many, many years, like 25 years of being a painter, and I wanted to see, can I transfer everything I've learnt into photography? If I'd been only sticking to film photography, which is what I began with, I would have been quite limited, because film photography is a different medium to digital photography, not the same thing. And then we get into the world of digital, and as the years have passed, what we've got is constant progress with the power of the sensor giving us so much ability to get a really fantastic shot, pick up color, pick up dark lines, manipulate contrast. It gives us a whole palette of ideas, and what that does is creates for you, when you go out there, you've got all this web of ideas that you need to work with, and it can be quite confusing for some people. And here's what I say, there is a web of ideas, that's what makes it hard. But if it's hard, it means it's worth achieving. And as you can see, so many people love street photography. One of the reasons for it is it really actually puts you through your paces. You go out there, and each time you go out, it's a different situation. There's no repetitive life to it or anything like that. So you've got to think, what am I going to focus on today? And especially if you're a beginner. And I would recommend that really you put your camera on sort of semi-automatic. So set your camera to AV, which is where it will sort the shutter speed out and the ISO for you, and you just work on the focus and make sure you got the framing right. And if you're thinking about framing, think about composition. Just think about composition, because within composition, when you're focusing or concentrating on the idea of composition, what you're doing is thinking about everything, but in an automatic way. You know, there are various theories of composition, and people like to see them as rules, such as the rule of thirds. I always say, because I come from the world of art, the rule of thirds is actually something that was used in graphic design. Right back in the early 20th century, they decided the rule of thirds is a great thing to use because it puts things in a very, very basic order, and it helps people who are buying objects, such as book covers. They look at something and they buy a book by its cover, and it's been designed by the rule of thirds. In the world of art and painting, etc., many people would use a golden ratio. There's one thing about it, the golden ratio. It gives you a much better, a different way to look at things, especially when you are looking at a larger composition. And so I recommend you focus on composition for a while. And the reason for this is because within composition is everything, and everything that you are, you know, that you're going to be practicing over the years in order to become a very good street photographer. But when you use it, you can think about how to actually put the objects together so that they create something very pleasing to the eye. Composition is the very first thing that catches the attention of anybody who wants to look at an image. It doesn't matter if it's been photographed or painted or created with somebody's thumbs and fingers. If the composition is good, it's going to catch someone's attention. They're going to look at it and see that it's good. It's like the lead in to a photo. And so when they're led in, they'll follow the composition around the whole image and move around. They might find the frame. You could be thinking about how to create a really good composition, and as you progress, you start thinking about how to frame something within the composition. The composition is within the or square space that you see through your camera viewfinder, but within it, there's something of great interest. And so you've got that, and you create a composition, and then somewhere in there, please not in the center, but somewhere there's going to be something like a face or some texture or color that is going to be of great interest to the viewer. It's going to stop them in their tracks as they look around your photo. They're going to look at it and see it's really interesting composition. Then they're going to start seeing something like texture, or they could see an expression on a person's face, especially out on the street. When you're doing street photography, depending on the time of day, you're going to find that people's expressions are different. First thing in the morning, you're going to see a lot of groggy people walking along on their way to work. At the weekend, you're going to see people much more relaxed, and they're going to be meandering along the road. So you're going to get groups of people together, depending where you go, where you live. But there's going to be all types of opportunity for composition. And at the weekend, of course, or after work, people are dressed differently. They're not dressed for work, they're dressed for leisure. And so you might find a bit more colour. And colour is also a very, very strong part of your composition. Unless, of course, you decide you want to go black and white, which is a great way to practice composition. If you have a problem with colour and you're not really happy with it, go black and white and just do some black and white for a while and focus on the tones instead of colour. You'll be focusing on tones, and set your camera into black and white mode so that each time you take the shot, you can have a look at it and see what sort of balance you've got with the tones. But think mostly about the composition. That was just a little few tips on beginning street photography. I hope it helps. Please write a comment down below if you've got any questions, and I will answer it. The most important thing is to take your camera and go out there and start taking photos, because that's how you learn. Focus on one idea of what you should do, and you should be able to come back home with a lovely bunch of photos that are food for thought, or you might have a few happy accidents and have some pretty good photos. All the best. Enjoy the rest of this week. Subscribe if you like my channel. I'll be making lots of videos, and my objective is to be very helpful to you. Bye bye. I'm Sean Durham. Bye bye.